Today I'm going to discuss the nature of reality, tools to help us navigate through what is occurring. I'm also going to be discussing the nature of the inverted reality systems that are based on infinity systems, which in turn are based on mirrored realities that are necromancy. The inversion is based on the necromancy arts. In relation to the architects, in relation to the hidden masters, in relation to the checkmate system that the world is in. That this entire plane of existence, in connection with all states of reality, are connected to within the inverted labyrinth systems. So I will be getting into that and discussing how we can empower ourselves within the laws, understanding the law of nature, understanding the law of lore, understanding the law of the universe, and the law of what is sovereign being. When I refer to sovereignty, I'm not referring to the sovereignty which is related to any legalism here. I'm not referring to anything with regards to the nature of this reality matrix or these reality containment systems. I am referring to the sovereignty of your original source being, of what you actually truly are, and the power therein. This is something that has been stolen from everyone, and in place of that, there has been an unnatural artificial setup so that everyone is living the set-up lives. Now, part of the memory swipes are so that people can get relegated within the experiences of what those setups are and feel like those experiences are real and true, and that is the point of origin they want everyone to return to. This, in a way, is to completely steal your original source being, the knowledge that you came in with, and the authority, power, and the sovereignty that you actually have. This is one of their tricks. So a part of this will be to give those keys back to people so that they can start operating on the truth rather than the setup, quote, reality experience here. Part of this synthetic artificial reality system is predicated on feeling, experiencing, and therefore believing what you experience and what you feel. And when you believe what you're feeling and experiencing, then you give life to that. In essence, you solidify the manifestation of it. However, if you truly stand in the knowledge of what and who you truly are, and in that sovereignty and in that authority, you will comprehend and you will see that those setups are not who you really are. And in fact, if you go back way to the beginning, you will see that it is a chain, a lineage chain of events in order to keep you controlled in that place of enslavement, robbing you of your real knowledge, robbing you of your real authority and your real sovereignty and power, and what you can actually do with it, which has everything to do with unraveling the nature of all of this synthetic, artificial infinity system based on the necromancy arts of the architects and the hidden masters, based on the archontic forces, the demiurgic forces, the forces that came in from the very beginning of this whole primordial experiment. So this is what I'm going to be highlighting, which will allow people to start really going into their own personal setups and then seeing what it is versus who and what they really are and what they can do with their power. On the matter of necromancy, inversion, containment, reality systems, first of all, necromancy is the art of death. Inversion is inverting life into something that is anti-life. We have literally been placed in the underworld of our own creation, you could say. You could say it's been placed upon us. It's been superimposed on us. The art of death and the death systems are the carbon-based systems, which are relegated to the antiverse, technology, synthetic reality, and everything that is an artificial based interfacing system, which is what we're in. The whole point of this is to connect with our spirits and have the marriage between the spirit body occur so that we can literally unravel this state of artificial reality. The necromancy is the art that the hidden masters, a lot of the hidden masters, the reality wielders, those that have literally wielded this artificial artifice, which is based on anti-life and all things that are anti-life systems. And this is the reason why technology and everything that is synthetic has so much power in this web grid, in this server. So now that we're in the server, we're responding to the lower parts of our manifested consciousness or subconsciousness or unconsciousness. The fact that we've been asleep from the beginning of this all and rigged into something artificial is and has everything to do with the death system and the death arts, the arts of the mysticism. So for example, I will say to you that the 777 God codes that are being spoken about, which refer to unlocking the God code within us, is not the God code. It's actually the matrix code of this entire synthetic system. It is to keep this generated. It's to keep the machine, the quantum machine, perpetually generated. So these 777 God codes that are being referred to are actually the God codes that have been coded and taken from us and inserted in this server and placed in place of the spirit, in place of what's real. And what we're going for, naturally, what we're fighting for, not only is it memory, because memory is in soul, soul is in experiences, and this is where the magic comes from, but the memory is the release of all our original entrance and what we came in with spirit before all of these overlays started happening, and before we were inserted into servers, and before we were, experiencing a life that is largely very synthetic, very, very artificial, and could possibly be a replicant counterfeit upon a counterfeit. So this is a system, the necromancy system is a system of an infinity system of counterfeits. So just as you're getting out of one counterfeit, you go into another counterfeit, and this is the reason why everybody keeps chasing their tail. So when we comprehend the nature of the way that our minds work, and the nature of the reality that we create and that we co-create, and how the mirror system works, because this whole reality system is based on mirrors, and we mirror to ourselves everything, all of the things that are hidden within us. These are, in essence, what we sow, and what we sow we reap. Yet many people have a hard time, because when you're actually being targeted, or it feels like you're being targeted, and your life is completely getting out of control, and it feels like it's getting out of hand, many people don't know how to take back the tools and to take back what they have in order to unravel this whole thing, which is what I want to discuss to help you, which is that you are the universe is you. So you mirror to the universe, and then the universe has to mirror back to you what you mirror to it. Therefore, that is what the universe can create for you. It doesn't work any other way. So we create our own resistance. We create everything that we live. Whatever the core issues are, whatever we cling to in experience, in body experience, in the setup of this physical lifetime. You are not this physical lifetime. You are not the sum total of your experiences. You are not the sum total of all your lifetimes. Each and every single lifetime that everybody has gone through is not what they are. In fact, that is what's been completely hijacked. So you've been given a false series of lives to live that are also hijacking the DNA. So in essence, you haven't lived your true original source being experience, because this whole thing has been hijacked. So when you step out of the drama, when you step out of the stories, when you're willing to let go of that because you know that's not who you are, then you can be more at point zero. Then you can be more at the neutral point. And neutrality is outside of all of their polarity systems. It's outside of the controlled opposition, the checkmate system. Because the way it's set up right now, you got black squares, you got the white squares. People run from the one thing to the other thing. If they go, thinking that the answer lies over there, but it's just another version of something that's another form of polarization. This is where they neutralize everyone. And this is where the harvesting is going to take place. People have to get out of that entire system. They have to get out of the belief that what you live and what you experience is really the real truth, because you've forgotten who you are, you've forgotten your source, original being, and the power that you have had from the beginning, because everything here is based on agreements of entrapment. And agreements of entrapment are what keep you locked into their necromancy, dead carbon, artificial server realities. So the more that people step in to who and what they are, the more that they realize that the nature of the universe is them. You are the universe. The universe is you. The universe is looking back to you and literally fabricating the reality you're giving it. So when people can see this and they can harness truly what they are and remove the resistance, remove the emotional setups, the all of the plagues, the negative plagues of the mind, all of the feelings of shame, guilt, fear, anything that literally is moving you and pulling you one way or another is a manipulation of this. So once you realize this and you start stepping out of the manipulation, you step out of the effect that these entities and these beings also have on you, because once you make an agreement of entrapment and you decide to believe whatever that lie is, it could be that you're little and you've been made to feel shame, you've been made to feel guilt, you've been made to feel you're not good enough. When you believe that, then entities step in, because that's a breach, and it's a universal breach. And when that happens, just like the archontic or the psychic viruses, they can lace in you and they can interface with you as well as the technology, completely OCDing those thoughts so that you always repeat those thought loops. So you always deal with the same issue and you never get ahead, and it creates blocks in your reality. And so then you literally go from one block to the next, to the next, to the next, and you don't know how to control your life anymore, because you've given in to the belief originally of whatever that negativity is. And you bought it hook, line, and sinker. And you forgot who you are. You forgot your true original essence and the power thereof, and your sovereignty and your authority that comes with. That authority and that sovereignty can rule over everything that you create here and everything you're a part of. It's not the reverse. They want everybody believing the reverse, and this is the reason why they cause people to live the lives they have been causing over and over and over again in this artificial karma system, in this artificial reincarnation system that they've fabricated to keep people locked into that experience, just as though that's all you are. That isn't what you are. None of your experience are what you are. So, polarity, controlled opposition, mirrors, the dead systems that have stolen everything from you, so that you're essentially living a synthetic life. And they don't care if you go to work 60 years, 70 years out of your life. They don't care that you just wake up in the morning, you repeat the same pattern, you're going nowhere. This entire work system is based on a 5-day work week, 8 hours a day minimum, where people don't even have time to have any really true regeneration, or any true they don't have any time for themselves. They don't have any time to get out of the hamster wheel. And that's by design as well. So the quicker people can realize that the entire system from top to bottom is fabricated to keep people locked into that hamster wheel, and the more that we start changing things and demanding the change, and demanding that the architects step forward, and I demand that the architects step forward, I demand that the hidden hand, they're all over the web. The hidden hands are everywhere. If you look at any kind of research, they're releasing information left, right, and center. It's so much that I can't even, it's overwhelming. So, and it's to snare everyone in one polarity or the other. They want you in one camp or the other. They don't care what that is. They could care less. You know, the fact is they want to neutralize you, and they want to harvest you afterwards, because this is a farm. They made it into a farm. They farmed your consciousness. They farmed your body. They farmed your DNA. They farmed your God codes. They farmed everything that there is to farm. And there is a black market. And the black market is, you know, what is really operating all of this. And this is the necromancy. This is a part of the necromancy inversion. So it's everything anti-creation. And this is everything that we have to topple. We have to topple it by people returning to their source being, returning to the power and authority and the sovereignty of your original being, and not putting up with this. Number one, if you look at history, the architects, or you could say that necromancy architects, the hidden masters, those that have created this machine that we're living in, they have hidden themselves and they have placed so many front men that nobody can even access them. They've created dumbs all over the planet, starting from thousands and thousands of years ago. Originally, they were above ground. So even if you look at our current history, you could see that when the gods were here, when the Anunnaki were here, they were building ziggurats and pyramids, and they were actually living in them, and people had interaction with them, only to discover that when people started waking up and realizing that the people were working for the gods and they were without their own power, they didn't like it very much. They started comprehending what was happening, so the gods left. Some of them went underground.
Is that because there was a rebellion from the people?
Yes, there was a rebellion. There were several rebellions that occurred. The other interesting thing is that, okay, in terms of the nature of what reality is in this world, what I was shown was when they went underground to protect themselves, because they realized that they had to be in a way that they couldn't be accessible to people. Because according to the law and the terms and conditions of the law that are in operation, if you make an agreement of entrapment with somebody, then you've created an agreement. So the more they communicated with people, they realized that they were creating agreements with them. And it was screwing up the way that they wanted to control reality. When there were several wars, and I mean, time is something that we can't locate because, well, time doesn't really exist. But the nature of going underground is really fascinating, because this is something that is an archaeological fact, starting from what we know thousands and thousands of years ago. In Africa, we've got a lot of evidence that there are complete underground systems that are older than 50,000 years old. So now the nature of reality as per the world, because it's an inverted system, one of the mysteries about inversion, if everybody remembers the story about the center of the world, the hollow, that the earth is hollow, and well, there was a book written about it and movies done on that. Do you remember what that was?
Journey to the center.
Journey to the center of the earth. Okay. That's actually based on truth. So because it's an inverted reality, an inverted world, inside the quote outside world is an earth. Much like this, probably better, but it's on the inside. Because it is inverted, they could easily do that. They could easily go into the other inner earth and the other place where they can navigate their machines, the quantum machines, and they can do and orchestrate all this, and nobody will ever find them. They're not coming out. They're not talking to any of us. They've got their hidden hands giving out information, but it's all black and white square information, so there's truth laced with lies. None of it is designed to set you free, ultimately. It's to get you deeper into their web. It's to get you deeper into their synthetic server machine reality. And their magic, their necromancy magic, their death magic. So one of the most important things to remember, literally, and to know, just to know it, even if you don't feel it, even if this is another thing about the universe that you create, okay? If you physically live according to what you feel is true, then the universe has to mirror that back to you, which means that you could be really depressed, you could be experiencing a lot of trauma, but if you are superimposing what you know to be true over your artificial setup circumstances and all of the negative experiences they're forcing you to endure and live in, when you superimpose what you know to be real, what you know to be true, and I mean, when I say real, I don't mean R-E-E-L, because everything here is a real. That's why the word real is real, which is another spelling in their, inverted reality. But what you know to be true, when you superimpose that over all of your circumstances, no matter how bad they are, you have to just keep doing that and truly live that in action, even if you don't feel it. Because in time, you will quantumly shift the energy, the time and space, literally from the quantum levels down to the physical levels. This is something that doesn't happen right away, but it will happen, and this is one of the ways we can transmute things and transform our lives if we give in to what they artificially induce in our quote 3D reality. It's not even 3D anymore. That is not a term that, it's not a term that means anything anymore for what we're actually living in, because it's so synthetic. But for lack of a better way of describing it, I'm just going to continue saying 3D. When they cause you to live this artificial targeting life, full of setups, full of drama, full of distractions, when you go to point zero and you realize that that is the false reality, that is the synthetically induced reality, then you can literally take what you know to be true and superimpose it over all the garbage and the crap. And when you do that over and over again, and you physically live what you know to be real, regardless of the circumstances, your universe will begin to change. Because you are the universe, and the universe cannot do anything but reflect back to you and be what you give it. This is a key. They use this technology against us. They use this very technology and the way that it works against us, this mere reality.
So I would find that akin to the Bible verse, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added to you." view and your true spirit being is representative of the kingdom of
Well,
God, it's highlighting the importance of seeking
right, but you're
truth, because this is really what this is all about.
going to the origin of what you are
Yeah.
is seeking truth.
And remembering.
And remembering. So basically it's saying, remember what you are, because that is where the keys are. It isn't on what they give you to live. This is not to shock everyone. Most of the families we've been relegated to are part of the false matrix as well, even in the way that they've hijacked our DNA and inserted whatever they want in it so that they can insert us in specific families to cause generational trauma.
That's because they have law over the flesh, so
Right.
they can allocate that.
Right.
Because this is their dominion.
They have created this technology, and the flesh is their technology. However, our spirit, and when you step into your sovereignty and what you know you are, then their law is no longer in effect, even if it is their technology. So we can override the codes within us. We can override everything that has been done, and we can actually return to our original source being in everything. This is part of the becoming. It's to literally dissolve, dismantle, and disintegrate all of the artificial hijacking that has been done, and that includes the actual reality where, we've been inserted into artificially in a server. This includes the nature of all of this synthetic hijacking of our consciousness and our psychic abilities. So all of this, when you know who you are, you can override, and you can literally alter and regenerate those parts. But you can't do it if you're buying the lie and you're living that. You can't do it if you're sending yourself a duplicitous message, and on the one hand you say, or you tell yourself, yes, you know, and you believe this, but then you live the opposite because you believe what you're feeling and you believe the setup. And when I say believe in that context, I'm saying you're being the lie of the lie.
Yeah.
Because everything here is based on counterfeit reality systems. Everything's a counterfeit on the counterfeit on the counterfeit on the counterfeit.
Yeah. Well, I do notice in the religious text they use the word believe a lot.
Yeah.
Because that is part of the spell casting.
Yeah.
Is that you be the lie, because that's the whole part of the snare.
Yeah.
In drawing you into the lie, utilizing the truth.
Yeah. When we look into language, we were doing this. This is
Yeah.
incredible. When you look at the anagrams of it, it's right in front of our faces. They've literally created a reality. And this is what I'm saying. The universe reflects what you are, because you are the universe. So they did the same thing. They created the universe, quote, the artificial version. They created the universe based on what they know, being the magicians that they are, the necromancy magicians that they are. They created an entire reality that's based on a language worldwide that hides what they really are doing, but at the same time puts everyone in a spell while revealing exactly what they're doing at the same moment in time. It's literally everywhere. So when we were looking at the anagrams last night, we were finding some incredible, it was, do you want to talk about that?
We know that words are used as forms of creating, because even as the Bible says, there was the word, but obviously it starts with the thought. The thought becomes the word.
Yeah.
So this
Thought
is why
made manifest.
the mind control is so vital, because through influencing the thought process brings the word and the spelling, and then that is the crafting. And this is where we have a whole society of people who have been spellbound by not recognizing who they are and not knowing where they are, and basically the programming starting from cradle to onto grave for most. And this is what we have the manifestation of now.
Which is what people are living. So they're actually living the lie. They're living what they believe. And this is what they're living. They're not... They've relinquished their power. They've relinquished their authority. They've relinquished their sovereignty. And in place, they have accepted the condition of the lie, of the agreement of entrapment, which is a counterfeit. And it makes their life a counterfeit. So no matter what they do, they will constantly go from one lie to the next lie to the next lie. And as long as they keep believing their setup.
Yeah, and that's, as we
and
said,
looking for truth within the setup.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking for truth within the setup.
And what it comes down to is that it's almost like people are afraid of thinking for themselves. They're afraid of questioning authority. They're afraid of questioning everything they've been raised to believe, whether it's through their customs, their traditions, their religions that they all adopt. And unfortunately, this all is due to indoctrination. I mean, if you look at all the examples, a lot of this indoctrination, particularly where it comes to religions, occurs from very, very early childhood. So you pretty much you're pretty much on the back foot,
Yeah.
to begin with. Personally, for me, the first time I opened the Bible and I started from the beginning, I started reading about the gods and the examples of the flesh offerings and all that stuff, and I was instantly repelled. Okay, this is, as a child, I was just like, what is this? This isn't God. This isn't or what the real source that I had within me, in having the truth within me as a child, as we all do, because we all have an onboard spirit, consciousness, the conscious mind, and I was like, what is this? And I put it away, and it took years later to open it up.
Well, when we looked at the anagrams, what was Armageddon? Do you remember?
Well, actually, I came across an anagram a while ago, and it had to do with the word Rothschild. And you anagram the word Roths, and then you have Thor. So you have Thor's child. And as we discussed in the previous video, we're talking about the rulers who are on the stage, whom are the descendants of the bloodlines of the pantheon of the gods. You can call the Anunnaki, the Elohim, whatever name you want to give. But these are connected to the archons. And so it tells you right there, this is the genealogy of Thor.
Yeah.
And again, they have to put the truth in front of you.
Yeah.
But as they write, okay, because the people whom assembled the Bible, these are the powers and principalities who had advanced technology. When the true emissary was here on the earth, they know every word he said because it was all recorded. It was all recorded. So they can transcribe every single true word he spoke here. However, where the alchemy, if that's, if you could call it that, the mind magic, where they stepped in, applying their mind magic, applying their sorcery, using the truth to create the game, utilizing the truth. And they absolutely depend on people completely absorbing things as they are fed to them.
And as they are affected by them. And that's the key. They use the 5 senses so that you're affected and you're fed.
By the emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah, electromagnetic motions.
So, who are these hidden masters? Who are these necromancy, alchemists, magicians, architects? Who are these that wield the quantum machine and operate the server of reality? Who are these that we can't access? And I don't mean the actual hidden hands that are all over the web and that
the family members
are in the front line, because exactly, they're family members who've been
indoctrinated
bred and indoctrinated
and contracted
contracted through lifetimes, and they're just operating subconsciously through what they're meant to do. So most of them don't even know that they're hidden masters. Some of them do, depending on the family.
Well, yeah, a lot of them are indoctrinated through rituals and making binding oaths. And again, this is where it comes into the spell casting, where basically they implement trauma from a very young age, and then essentially groom these family members to be subordinate, to have subordinate personalities and submissive personalities, and this is where they can draw them in then further through intimidation, fear, and that is to those who don't already just get on board through the brainwashing, because for those who show resistance, they have to be broken, so to speak, and so yeah, they corral people in a variety of ways. So you have the people who are born into it, then you have people who are seduced into their associate orders, such as Freemasonry, and for people who are considering joining these fraternities and these brotherhoods, they also have female chapters as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And extending to
yeah,
other races.
They tried to get me in there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, that's another
on
story.
various levels. Yeah.
So, for those who are considering joining these fraternities, or for those who are already have been injected into the lower levels, just be very wary that every one of these initiations which you are made to go through onto obligation, each one of these obligation oaths is basically giving up your spiritual sovereignty more and more and more and more until you reach a particular form of initiation, which is usually once you get closer to the 33rd degree. By that point you would have had so many entities layered onto you, and you'd be in so much bondage that you would be considered indoctrinated enough to receive the truth of who their God is.
Well, because then it's not really you anymore.
Exactly.
Operating the vehicle. The thing is that they also control the altars that they create. So many of the hidden masters and hidden hands operate on the frontline altar that they want, which truly is genuine, honest. They truly are all these things. But the other altars are actually operating against the honest altar, and they're doing a job.
And subliminally as well.
They're operating on behalf of the assignment that they've been given.
Yeah.
So the front altar, who's honest and really, thinks whatever, they're not even conscious of how they're being utilized on those levels. Now, the altars that are operating under the operations, they can go and they can literally ensnare everybody around them without people knowing it, because everybody's going to respond to the frontline true altar, who's genuine, who's a victim, who's like sincerely trying to seek out truth and whatever. It's so
it's a very, very insidious way of operation, because they do harness you on the other densities once you have made those agreements of entrapment, and because you're already mind swiped, they can mind swipe your activities on these other levels, including also when you give permissions for them to have you in a clone body, for example, which again that just gives them more sway to bring you down, for lack of a better term, and to capture you.
Well, yes.
Because this is it's what you had told me last time, that this 3D body is kind of like the last bastion. If they snag you on this level, in this body, then game over.
Yeah, you have to do the work here in the body. So this is where it's at. This is where the becoming is. This is where the marriage between your spirit and your body is.
Yep.
This is where we step into what we truly are, and we dissolve, completely collapse, and dismantle all of this, which is false, all of it. And in terms of clones, I mean, I can give you the example, because I don't remember agreeing to this, but when I was young, and the first experience I had with my clone, I don't remember giving any agreement, and the first time that I had exposure to my own clone, I was 11. The second time I was 13, and they had replaced me with my clone. But because I could always remote view, and I could always leave my body, I was able actually to see the transfer. And when I saw what was happening, I couldn't even believe it. This is how I found out about clones, because up until then I had no memory of it. But when I was 11, the first time I recalled seeing it, I was taken. This is all military, and they replaced me with a clone that I was freaking out because I was trying to figure out what it was, because it looked identical to me. It had all my mannerisms. When they replaced it, they had her lie down on the couch. This was after school. Lie down on the couch and take a nap, which was everything. I always used to do that after school. I would go home and take a nap on the couch before I had to get, dinner, help set up for dinner. So they had placed her exactly, and that's where they took me, because I was originally on that couch napping. And I woke up when they came in and they did the replacement. I stood outside of my body, watched it all. They later caught on that I could do this because I fought the transfer, because when they put me back, which is a really weird story, I guess I had been away for a couple months, and when I came back, what they usually do is they do a transfer download. So they give you all the memories that the clone lived in that time that you were away, and they download it into you. And then you have the copy of all of it, and your subconscious tells you that it was real, that you actually lived it. But because I was standing outside my body and I saw the whole thing happen, I knew that wasn't me, and I knew that they weren't my memories. So when they tried to do the download, I refused the download, and I was corrupting the files. So it didn't take, they couldn't do it. They were unable to download. So the 2 months that I was away, I had no memory of anything, because the clone memories weren't able to download in my mind, in my consciousness. My parents at that point were they were really weirded out. And they were saying stuff to me like, what's wrong with you? Like, you didn't know how to use a fork. Like, you were like eating and the fork was backwards, and you were like hitting your cheek like you didn't even know how to eat. And they kept saying to me all these things they had witnessed. What was happening was the clone was breaking down. So there was an emergency situation that happened where they had to actually just get me back in and remove the clone, because the clone was so corrupted. And this is like clear memory. That's the first time I have memory of a clone. They did that to me again when I was 13. They've done that several times. So, this whole cloning, man, they've mastered this for a long time. But, if you look at Sumeria and the cuneiform, they were writing all about the geneticists were writing about how they were hybridizing, cloning. In fact, everything that they were creating was based on
But hang on a minute, you just said that they mastered it.
Yeah.
But how could it be mastered if your clone is like defective and can't even use a fork properly?
No, I mean they mastered the Anunnaki mastered geneticists. They are the ones that mastered it. Now our technology mastered making clones, but they didn't master their degradation. So there's something. Although they've been doing cloning for a long, long time.
There's limitations.
Yeah. And it seems. And I'm not quite sure what it is, but what I felt when I was young and I experienced this stuff, what I felt was the more that I fought consciously through all of the stuff they were doing to me, the more I was unlinking from whatever they were trying to do. And that includes, what they were trying to do with my consciousness and clones. And I somehow was navigating, and I knew to pull things out or to control it because of it comes back down to, again, sovereignty, authority, power, right?
Yeah.
This is what it comes down to. So I discovered that they were having a lot of issues with the clones that they had with me because I was doing things that were not natural to what their experience was.
So that makes sense.
And depending on the strength of your consciousness and how much you rule within your conscious state of being, which is your source being, determines how difficult it is for them to access you, which they always had a bitch of a job with me because I kept waking up no matter how much they drugged me. I remember once you know, they were so fed up. And they were like, God, you know, we give her enough drugs to drug like an 800-pound horse. I literally remember the doctor saying this. We give her enough to knock her out for an 800-pound horse, and she still wakes up.
Yep. And this is why we speak about
So,
strong spirits, because we can step into our strength more so. Some people have incarnated on certain levels, okay, because you can look at it like school, you know, that some people are on different grades and levels of consciousness here than others. That's not an ego thing. It just is what it is, and just how this place functions, and this is why we have such a variation and conflict in terms of conscious behaviors. And they showed me depraved scenes, sexually depraved scenes of celebrities. I have been bonded, trauma bonded with particular celebrities. There are males there are females there are A-listers, there are lower listers there, music scene, acting scene, it's all true. We can't, like Donald Marshall's testimony on that front, I can confirm and validate. I can't validate all his statements, but we can only give account and validate by our own experiences there. And I can only say that, yeah, we've been there a very long time. They also videotape the activities there. Some whistleblowers have said that they use that for blackmail. I can totally fathom that would be a huge motivator for them to videotape certain activities. They replayed videotapes of people close to me who are also within these, and they did that to, again, it felt like it was a mocking, like, you know, ha ha ha, this is what we do, this is how we've got you on this level, though we do not agree to those terms and conditions.
No, we don't.
On any level.
No.
And we have endeavoured to break agreements on all levels and by what has been stolen, and as far as we're concerned has been done without our permission, because we did not enter into any contracts in this body, you know, like others may have. You know how they say you sell your soul for a recording deal or a movie deal and this and that, and you sign contracts with them, you do deals. We've done nothing of the sort.
No.
It's how we said some people are forced into these, and there are certain incarnates where they try and basically destroy you by trying to lay in the programs from these clones and basically contaminate your soul, and then insert that contamination through that soul aspect into this body.
Yeah. And into this consciousness.
Yeah.
So, and they do a lot of soul consciousness, what do you call it? Just where they take it and they put it into you. So it could be yours, it could be somebody else's.
Yeah.
It could be cross-contamination memories. So it's not always yours either. So,
well, I can say that I had experiences, I had recalls of memories where it was very brief, but I found myself being interrogated by police, and it appeared like it was a foreign country. But one thing I did know in this experience is that I was not in my body. So right now I can say that they can do this. They can insert soul aspects into other vehicles and onto other levels. Now I don't know if that was another clone, but all I know is that it was not a replicant of me. It was a complete different body, and clearly it was for operational purposes, and whatever my programmed alter in that soul aspect was doing, I got arrested for. So this is what they can do, guys. Like I said, there's other people who have come out with this, even some of the celebrities themselves. The information is out there. Feel free to do your research. We're just giving our own testimony and giving validity to the celebrity presence, especially of these cloning centers. I'll just say that the ones I have been bonded with are, let's just say he is a megastar Scientologist. That's all I'll say. I don't want to deal with lawsuits potentially either. Another one is a redheaded big time actress who won an award. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know exactly what their aims are with this trauma bonding, whether they're trying to, whether it's part of breeding programs, it's feasible. That's my, that's what I can fathom.
Well,
But
the thing is, though, about, and I can say this in terms of my experience, when I met up with one of my clone didn't know she was a clone. She was absolutely 100% sure that she was the real one and that I was the clone. And we had this like, I'm real, no, you're real, no, I'm real, you know, this thing that we were doing for a long time, and it was so difficult. And
where was that? Like, what was the setting where you had this meet up?
I had the meetup when I was in southwestern Ontario, which is a huge Black Ops MyLabbing mecca. Southwestern Ontario, when I was living there, and this was just right after college, and I had an actual one-on-one with my clone.
But where did you meet her?
Well, I met her in my home.
Okay. So what? Recount that.
Well, it was in my home, and usually when they try to do the swap over, it's my experience anyway, it's always been when I've been like lying down to try and have a nap, or, you know, they try to catch you when your heightened senses are low. So I was just resting. I wasn't even sleeping, and they tried to do that. But at that time, I was already pretty well versed in controlling my consciousness, so I would try and stop a lot of the stuff that was happening. Not that I was successful all the time, but in this occasion, I remember literally, and I'm not sure, it felt very much like it was 3D to 3D. That's my memory of it. My memory of it was that somehow I was in front of her and she was in front of me. Now, I don't know if they wanted that to happen. I don't know if that was the setup with like the project at the time, that they wanted to know.
Well, that's a form of intimidation itself,
right?
Where it's like, hey, we can replace you,
right?
And apparently they do actually threaten a lot of these actors or celebrities with that, like, hey, if you step out of line,
yeah,
we'll take you out and replace you.
That's what it felt like, because
and they're terrified
because it was allowed to happen, which freaked me out.
Yeah,
like, because in my past experiences, I was like, you know, when I was 11, I was sleeping on that couch. When I was 13, it was the same kind of deal where I was, you know, just home. Nobody, you know, my mom was just entering the door kind of thing, and then it happened, and it happens in a slick second, and you're out, right? So they don't need a lot of time. But this was different. This was different because when it occurred, they let it happen. They were like, they wanted me and the clone to be facing each other, and they wanted us to fight for who was actually real. And I mean, I'm talking about, they downloaded all the memories to this clone about everything that they could possibly from my consciousness. So it was alarming to me when I found myself in this situation, because I was looking at, first of all, it's really alarming to look at yourself, and it's a perfect version of you, okay? I didn't come from twins or, you know, anything like that. So having that happen to me several times in my life has been really, really, really alarming, because in my experience, it wasn't a dream state or anything like that. So they had, and they wanted this face-off, and they were just watching. They were watching what was going to happen between the two of us. And I'm telling you, I was sweating bullets, because it was so complicated, and she had so many memories, and it was so authentic, that I actually started doubting myself, thinking, well, what if I'm the clone?
Mm-hmm.
What if I'm
so she was so convincing that,
right,
that you were doubting your own,
that I was doubting my
being.
own state of being. Yeah. And like, seriously thinking, well, what if what if I'm the clone that they put in to live what I've been, living in that section of time, and she's actually the real deal, and they just want to put her back in. And then and then there was a feeling, like a horrifying feeling of termination. So that was, this is what you confront when it's all military created. And I just remember in that horrifying moment where I was actually doubting myself, and she had all my perfect mannerisms, she had all the memories. But the weird thing was, and this was how I realized it, she had more memories than I did.
More lucid.
She was more lucid about chunks of time in my life that I don't recall because I've, had so many experiences.
Because she was more like the computer.
But she's the computer version. So I was like, oh my God, there you have it. She's just, it's all just being downloaded in her. So it's lucid in her because she's.
So she could actually seem more authentic.
Right.
If there was an audience. And
right.
You're being
because
tested.
I'm like, I don't remember all this stuff in my,